Welcome. Today we have another special episode focused on informing you on the latest status of legislation working through Olympia that impacts veterans and military families. I'm Andy Stevens, and today we'll cover bills still moving, what's stalled, and why many proposals take more than one session to become law. We'll also share some highlights from veterans advocating for you in Olympia. As a reminder, Washington's legislative session starts in January every year. We are nearing the end of our short legislative session, which this year is only 60 days long. Let's get started and learn which bills still have legs and which bills did not make the cutoffs. We recently passed the House of Origin cutoff, which was the last day to consider bills in their House of Origin. For example, if a bill was introduced in the House, it would have needed to pass the House by this point. Here are some key bills that are still alive or progressing through the process. These bills directly affect veteran or military opportunity, benefits, and protections. This doesn't mean they'll pass and become law, but they are still alive. So we'll start with House Bill 1073, which creates a Washington National Guard retention program. It has passed the House chamber, so now it goes to the Senate, goes through the same process. House Bill 2088 creates the Dietitian licensure compact, which allows for licensure portability for military spouses. This would join other licensure compacts that have already passed in prior years to help increase licensure portability for a lot of medical and teaching fields. This bill also passed the House chamber and is working its way through the Senate. House Bill 2417. This is another bill related to the Washington National Guard, but this one works to align the Washington Code of Military Justice so those Guard members whose role is sometimes federal and sometimes state focused receive the same basic set of protections if they are a victim of a crime in either role. This bill has passed the House and it is currently working through the Senate. Senate Bill 5901. We mentioned this one on a prior episode, but this bill that would provide school construction assistance for on-base schools has passed the Senate and should go on to the House. House Bill 2534 helps provide greater flexibility for military kids enrolling in Washington schools when they PCS here with their families and for a few other situations. That's before parents might have a set lease in place or housing fully settled. This has moved out of the House and is now working through the Senate. Senate Bill 5827. We spent some time in an earlier episode talking about this one, but it would allow separating service members who wanted to work for the state to use a letter from their commander to serve in place of their DD-214 to get their preference points. That means you can reduce the period of unemployment between your actual separation date, your EOS, and being able to be hired with your preference points with the state. This has passed the Senate and it is currently working through the House. Senate Bill 6046. This establishes the Washington Division of Civil Air Patrol as part of the Washington Military Department. This has passed the Senate and is in the House. So some of the voting-related legislation we've mentioned before is still in the mix. Senate Bill 6035. This authorizes the Secretary of State to establish an electronic ballot portal. This has passed the Senate. It's working through the House. With these bills, we'll link to the current status in the show notes so you can track them. Next up, some bills either didn't make it past key deadlines or have stalled the session. Now guys, this is normal, especially on proposals that need grassroots support or budget backing. There is always the chance that some of these bills can get added on as amendment to another bill that's already passed its House of Origin, but that is not a guarantee. So, House Bill 2514. This bill would have jump-started the global war of terror monument on the Capitol. It does appear to have stalled in the House. Joint Bill Senate Bill 5907 and House Bill 2099. We did talk about this one earlier on our show, as it would have allowed military members to have greater access to free early childhood education programs. But unfortunately, both the House and Senate companion bills have stalled. Property tax relief related bills, House Bill 1165 and Senate Bill 5398, also stalled out. Now, not every bill introduced will make it across the finish line this year, especially if it needs revenue impacts figured out or wider bipartisan support. Here's a quick insider view. Even important ideas often need more than one session to reach the finish line. Sometimes they need funding built into the state budget. They need revisions based on committee feedback. or they need broader buy-in from both chambers. They are complex, like benefit expansions or structural changes. As we learned from our friends at the Veterans Legislative Coalition a few episodes ago, sometimes it takes several sessions for a bill to eventually pass. To give you an idea, some military spouse compacts took 7 sessions. That's 7 years, guys. Stay engaged. Don't give up. Continue to push for laws that make the state great for veterans and military families. This wasn't an exhaustive list of absolutely every bill related to military and veteran affairs in the state legislature, but it did cover the ones we've been hearing the most about from various veteran groups. The Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs keeps a list on their website, which we will link to, that covers all related legislation if you want to review that list in its entirety. We are encouraged by veterans showing up for other veterans in many ways. Today, our Voices from the Field segment is a feature on some of the many veterans who've been advocating for you this session.
As a veteran, we advocate for all veterans, and on September 11th, it was just not a date on the calendar for most of us who served. It was a moment that changed our nation and changed the lives of millions of Americans forever. In the days that followed, something extraordinary happened. People did not hesitate. They stepped forward. They volunteered. They put the uniform and said, "Send me." Washington State answered that call. A Global War on Terrorism Memorial gives us a place to remember, a place to reflect, a place to grieve, and a place to heal. For veterans, memorials are not just abstract symbols. They are places where memories live, where fallen friends are spoken of again, and sometimes for the first time. And for future generations, these memorials will tell essential truths: that freedom is not free, that unity matters, and that when our nation is tested, Americans stood together.
This memorial will ensure that their memories do not fade, that they are not forgotten. This memorial isn't about politics or pageantry. It's about acknowledgement, placing the experience of generations at the heart of the Civic Center here at Olympia, where students and future leaders of the state will be able to remember. This memorial doesn't replace services. As we know, there are many services that directly impact the lives of service members, veterans, and families here in Washington State. But what this does is raise awareness, advocacy, and responsibility. We owe it to the people of Washington State to ensure that post-9/11 veterans are never forgotten, and House Bill 2514 creates a lasting legacy.
I've been a registered dietitian for 40 years, but I started as an active duty Army dietitian, and so I have a lot of knowledge about this. Every single place you have to start over, and it's so tedious. So I'm at the end of my career, but if I can help any others coming up the line from me, I truly, truly, truly support that. Especially as this compact is already in place for OTs, PTs, RTs, and the whole list. So anything that makes oversight better, continuity of care, and you don't know it, but these folks have so much good experience from all over the world, and they can bring it here to Washington and put it to good use if they have a little help to make it a little easier. So I thank you for listening to me. I urge you to pass this out of committee and to get this on its way so that we make it easier for all my fellow spouses. So, thank you.
We have the 11th highest veteran population in the United States. 8% of Washington state populations are veterans, with an estimated 1.8 million family members. The national average of the veteran unemployment is it's been at its lowest at 2.8. Washington has done a good job to continue to combat veteran unemployment, but we are still just slightly above the national average at 3.8%. Supporting businesses who hire veterans to this legislation would continue to provide career opportunities and keep talent in Washington state.
I am a combat veteran, and I served with the U.S. Army, including 2 tours to Vietnam as a U.S. Army Ranger and Special Forces officer. I retired in the grade of colonel, and I will say that nothing gives me greater satisfaction than advocating for veterans, for the men and women who served our nation honorably. Disabled veterans are a special category who merit our fullest attention and support. Interestingly, many reject the term disabled. They remind us all that while their bodies may be broken, their mental acuity, their spirit, and determination to excel are not disabled. Veterans who made the personal sacrifice in service to their country and who now meet the new disability ratings. It is not lost on me that House Bill 1106 enjoys bipartisan support. In my view, that is how it should be. On measures affecting our military veterans, our legislature should always stand as one to honor and support those who served and sacrificed.
Thank you to all of those who have testified, commented on a bill, or reached out to your representatives. It's been great to see so many fellow veterans getting involved. So that wraps up our mid-session legislative snapshot. For links to the bills we discussed, hearing archives, and ways to stay engaged, check the show notes. If you care about a bill or you want to support changes that help veterans and families, now is the time to contact your legislators and share your story. We'll be back next week with a regular episode. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you can view all episodes on our YouTube channel. Join us next time.